Has anyone ever told you that you have your father's eyes, or that you have your mother's nose? Most people seem to take it for granted that people who are related to each other look the same. But why is this? And how does this actually work? Well, genetics is the study of genes and how they are passed down from generation to generation. Genes are found in things called chromosomes, and chromosomes are found in every cell of the human body. When you were born, you got 23 pairs of unique chromosomes, 46 in total. You received 23 from your mother and 23 from your father to create 46 pairs. Chromosomes are made up of tightly packed strands of DNA. Your DNA stores all of your genetic traits and is made up of proteins, and the order of these proteins determines your traits. Each chromosome is different, and they are all numbered in their respective pairs, 1 through 23. So, in order to give you exactly 23 chromosomes each, your parent cells will divide through a process called meiosis. The first phase of meiosis is called prophase 1, and during this phase, the chromosomes will come together in their pairs, and the nucleus wall will break down to allow the chromosomes to be separated. Then, the spindles in the cell will pull two different chromosome pairs to each side of the cell in the second step, which is called metaphase 1. Next comes anaphase 1, and the cell starts to divide and recreate a nucleus around the chromosomes. Finally, the cells will divide completely, creating two separate haploid cells in the last step called telophase 1. This first half of meiosis is called mitosis 1. These cells then undergo the whole process all over again. Mitosis 2, this time they rip the pairs of chromosomes apart so that each chromosome is completely by itself. This creates 4 separate haploid cells. Let's look at eye color as an example. There are 3 basic genes that determine eye color: brown, green, and blue. Brown is represented by an uppercase B, and it is the most dominant. Green is represented by an uppercase G, and it is recessive to brown, but it is dominant over blue. And blue is represented by a lowercase b and is recessive to all. 2 of the genes are present in each of your parents. The first of the 2 can either be brown-brown, brown-blue, or blue-blue. And the second one can either be green-green, green-blue, or blue-blue. Using Punnett squares, which are a lot like graphs, we can answer interesting questions like, how can 2 people who have brown eyes have green or blue-eyed kids? So if both parents have brown eyes, both of their first genes must be brown. But since they have blue-eyed children, they have to have a blue trait hidden in there somewhere, which means they must be a carrier of the blue trait. To be a carrier means that even though the parent may appear to have brown eyes, they secretly carry the gene to make blue eyes. And since blue is recessive, it doesn't show up in the parent, but it can be passed down to the children. The second gene is probably green-blue because they have green-eyed kids, but they also have blue-eyed kids as well. So their full sets would be brown-blue, green-blue. Then we take all possible combinations of the first 2 with the second 2 to get brown-green, brown-blue, blue-green, and blue-blue. Putting these on the Punnett square will give us this graph. And when we color it in, we see that it is possible for brown-eyed parents to have blue or green-eyed children, although it is unlikely. This is possible because of the genes that were given to the parents, but were carried secretly. Not all things are inherited from parents. For example, have you ever wondered how people get Down syndrome? This is related to chromosomes, but instead of a trait like eye color that gets passed down, Down syndrome is caused by a random error in cell division, and the child ends up with 47 chromosomes instead of 46 in a majority of their cells. He or she gets 2 of every kind of chromosome except for chromosome 21. During anaphase 2, when the chromosomes are being ripped apart from each other, an error occurs, and chromosome 1 does not divide. Instead, the cell has one too many chromosomes, and this is why Down syndrome is also called trisomy 21. Chromosome 21 is responsible for many hundreds of genes and proteins, and so when a person has 3 of these instead of 2, this messes up certain processes like mental functions, muscle tone, growth rate, appearance, and many others. So I hope you can see how the study of genetics can be very interesting. By studying genetics and the way they work, we can learn more about ourselves and our families. We can perform experiments on plants and animals by crossbreeding and exploring to learn more about things. And we might even be able to prevent diseases like Down syndrome from occurring. So keep on being curious about science and the world around you, because who knows what you might discover.